Hello, dear friends. In this week's bulletin, I will try to provide a comprehensive analysis of the sector, along with data for October. As always, I will share important topics such as the consumer and producer price indices, foreign trade export figures, minimum wage discussions, and recent developments in industrial and retail turnover indices, specifically in ready-to-wear, apparel, and textiles. I can also add some comments from my own perspective, just so you know. These topics will help us better understand the dynamics the sector faces in Turkey and the global market, as well as future forecasts. Let me remind you from the start, since the content is very dense, I may publish the video in two parts, just so you know. I would also like to make a brief reminder in advance. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, like, and share. If you're ready, let's get started. First, let's take a look at the inflation figures. At the beginning of the month, the CPI and PPI figures for October were announced. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, exceeded expectations, showing a monthly increase of 2.88%. Although this rate did not show a significant change compared to the previous month, coming in above 2%, created a perception that the year-end inflation expectation would not decrease. The annual inflation rate was 48.6% over the last 12 months. A notable situation here was that the annual CPI fell below the interest rate of the Central Bank of the Republic of Turkey for the first time in nearly 2 years. The difference, which you see on the screen in turquoise as 1.4, presents the gap between the central bank's interest rate and consumer inflation. Frankly, I call this the valley of death. The reason for the change in spending habits is entirely due to where inflation has reached. Fortunately, no one can explain to us why we have experienced this situation for 2 years. Let's continue. The monthly change rates of the CPI by main expenditure groups were highest in our sector, namely the clothing and footwear sector. As you can see on the screen, there is a significant difference of about 10 points compared to other sectors. And the clothing and footwear sector showed an increase of 14.32% on a monthly basis. This increase is a significant factor pushing the overall average up. However, the same situation does not apply on an annual basis. The clothing and footwear sector ranks low with 31.37% on an annual basis. This means that nearly half of the annual increase of 31.37% occurred in the last month. The 14.32% increase in October is related to the season openings, new collections, and price increases coming into effect before November. As always, October goes like this. However, I leave it to you to comment on how realistic the annual increase of 31.37% is. In addition, the Foreign Producer Price Index, or PPI, has a monthly increase of 1.29%, which is lower than the CPI. The annual increase of the PPI is at 32.34%. Thus, the annual PPI has continued to remain below the CPI for 16 months. This is a significant change following a period of about 2 years since the pandemic, during which the PPI was above the CPI. It was already expected that producer prices would reflect in consumer prices in this way. Many factors, especially the impact of exchange rates, affect this situation. Looking at the PPI data by sector, clothing items are above the average PPI. It shows a monthly increase of 3.01%. On an annual basis, it is significantly above the sector average at 44.50%. So, what would our comment be in this area? This situation also indicates that ready-to-wear prices will increase more in the upcoming period. Let's move on to the foreign trade figures. In October, Turkey's total exports amounted to $23.6 billion. This indicates the highest October export in history. The top 3 exporting sectors remain unchanged. In the first place is automotive, in the second place is chemicals, and in the third place is the ready-to-wear and confectionery sector with $1.58 billion. When we delve into the details of the ready-to-wear and confectionery sector, we can also see the effects, price indices, and inflation figures. The PMI, or Purchasing Managers' Index, is reported at 45.8 for Turkey in October. However, in clothing and leather products, this value was 42.6, while in textile products it was 43.5. As you know, when these rates fall below 50 points, it indicates that economic activities are slowing down. Fortunately, we are still not at the desired level here. When we look at production figures, there is a 0.8% annual decrease in the ready-to-wear sector. In overall manufacturing, we see a 5.4% decrease and a 6.3% contraction in textiles. The situation is similar when we look at capacity utilization rates. The capacity utilization rate has declined to 70.7% in textiles and 76.1% in ready-to-wear. When we look at ready-to-wear and clothing exports on a monthly basis, we see that it amounted to $1.58 billion in October. The data for 2024, shown with a white line on the graph, indicates that by the end of October, it reached $1,577 billion in the first 10 months of 2024. However, this figure shows a 7.3% decrease compared to the previous year. When compared to the year 2002, unfortunately, the rate of decline approaches 20%. This situation, unfortunately, reveals that the sector still has not shown the expected performance. You can guess whether there is hope at the end of the tunnel. We have reached the end of the first part. In this section, we focused on topics such as inflation, foreign trade, and where we stand in export figures. In the second part, we will continue with even more heated topics. What are they? We will discuss in detail topics that guide the sector, such as minimum wage debates, the perspective of industrialists on this issue, and the industry and retail turnover indices. In the meantime, I expect you to share your views and comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share the videos, and hit the like button to support our content. See you in the second part. Goodbye.